Welcome to Gulfstream today, and welcome to Gulfstream Park. Ron Nicoletti, very happy to be joined by my buddy Pete McFleet, ILO, and our track announcer does a fantastic job filling in this morning for Acacia, who was on assignment, watching Always Dreaming, working up at Palm Beach Downs. We'll be showing that in a minute. But hi, Pete.
Good to have you. Good to be back, Ronnie. It's I see you every day, but I don't get to work with you much anymore.
Yeah, we have a lot of fun when we do it. And before we get started, talking about Acacia, today's Beat the Expert Day, and she is up. You got to try and beat her. Beat the Expert. You have about, according to the thing, 62 minutes before post time. You got to get your selections in. If you pick more than Acacia, you get a chance to win a really cool polo shirt that says Beat the Expert on it. And how do you play? You go to our Facebook page and let us know you're playing. Hashtag Beat the Expert. It's a tough one. It's a lot of fun to play that game, and maybe you can win one of those.
Well, the best part about that is the trash talking that ensues at the set on the following day. So don't keep bringing that. It's great stuff, whether you're bringing it to Ronnie or myself or whoever. It's always good to talk racing with guys here.
Yeah, they beat me like a drum last week, so I had to take it on the chin, and the people that play. So great handicappers out there around the country. And as I mentioned, Acacia was on assignment this morning. Also, over at our sister track, Gulfstream Park West, Gunavera, final work before he heads out to the Kentucky Derby. So we want to go back and revisit that work this morning. He worked 5 furlongs, and we're going to pick it up. And there you see him going down. He went 24:37, 36:53. A minute, .87. He was out in 1:14:93. Just cruising along there, Pete.
Yeah, Edgar Zayas, the top Gunavera, who's a horse that has a big chance in the Kentucky Derby, at least in my view. One of the few dedicated closers in the race. He'll need a trip. Edgar Zayas and I were talking about that last night. He'll need a trip, but I think he'll be run far better than he did in the Florida Derby. It's just the way Antonio Sano trains. His horses are not lightning quick in the morning, but that's by design. Gunavera not a great workhorse anyway, so I thought that was just a pretty darn good effort he put forth this morning.
Yeah, and I really think that the post position is going to be key for him. If he can get a nice post, he's got Javier Castellano riding him, so he's got lots of things to like. Now, the other horse that we were talking from the Todd Pletcher barn, Always Dreaming, the Florida Derby winner, worked this morning up at Palm Beach Downs, and we're going to go and revisit that work. And there you see him coming, Always Dreaming, 25 and 28. 37.46, 101.56. He was out in 1:14:2 for the 6 furlongs, and I guess they kept the clock on him, and he was out in 129.44. Johnny Velasquez in town to ride him.
Well, that's got to speak volumes, and I know that when you go to Palm Beach Downs, it's a precise operation, so he had to go about what Todd wanted him to go in. It'll be interesting to see how he takes to the Churchill Downs racing surface and what kind of trip he can work out for the Kentucky Derby. I've been on the Always Dreaming bandwagon, at least related to the Classic Series, for a long, long time. So
I was very impressed with him in the Florida Derby. I thought he ran an exceptional race there, and Classic Empire, him, are going to vie for favoritism. It's either one or the other. So just updating you. So our 2 local horses heading out to try and win the Run for the Roses. Now we took care of that, and then we'll show you our wagering menu for this afternoon. We're going to start it off in race number 1 today with the Rolling Super High Five. They nailed it yesterday for like $13,000 or something like that in the last race. So paid very nicely.
Well, it does pay very nicely if you can run the favorites into the 3rd or even 4th or 5th positions. And, of course, if you run them out, a lot of times that results in carryovers. So be attuned to the carryovers throughout the afternoon.
And Pete's going to have 2 Pick 5 tickets today, and the first one starts right in race number 1. So we'll be getting to that in just a couple of moments. And Rainbow Six this afternoon starts in race number 5. That is starting to build. We got over $36,000 in that pool. And we were talking about this yesterday. I was talking on the air at the OTB channel that used to take a while to build up. Now they just keep sending it in, and it's a great, great bet now.
Well, it was an interesting anomaly yesterday. The Rainbow Six actually paid less than the Pick 5. Now, if you look at it from a denomination standpoint, it's a 20-cent bet versus a 50-cent bet. But the reason why that was is the first couple legs of yesterday's Rainbow Six, single city. There were a couple of easy singles, and it still paid pretty healthy. You know, you got $2,600 for 20 cents. And if you have 2 singles, think of the Rainbow Six as a Pick 4. I'll go for that.
Yeah, that's a great, people always say, oh, we can't get that one unique ticket, but 6 out of 6, even when you have multiple winners, really pays nicely. And, of course, we're going to end the day with Pete's final Pick 5 ticket of the afternoon. So we took care of all business. You saw those 2 great works by Gunavera, Always Dreaming. Beat the Expert. You got to try and beat Acacia. That's going to happen in a little while. Race number 1 this afternoon, 1 mile on the turf starter, optional claimer fillies, 3-year-olds, started for 25 or less, or the optional claimant tag of 25. Scratch the main track track only, number 8, Dressed in Heels. Pete, I think that we both went with the number 1 in here, Bahama Kitten.
We did. I'm sure the gloves will come off later. I have my own little Beat the Expert contest. You may not be up on the social media, but you're up with my book anyway, because I don't get to work with you that much, so definitely want to have fun. We do have my early pick 5 ticket, and I did go a little deep in this race. I went with the 1 Bahama Kitten on top. So did you. I'm worried about the pace scenario. More on that momentarily. Flying Girl is the upset possibility from the barn of Victor Barboza, and a horse who holds a big key, no pun intended, to this race is number 3, Lover's Key, 3 deep to kick it off. 2 deep in the second, Manolete and Vencedor. Vencedor is the likely winner of the race. Manolete, the upset possibility. Saratoga 2-step, my early single. More on him when we get to that race. I'm 3 deep in the third, trying to beat Sandbrook Edge, who dropped so far back. Tough for me to imagine him to be a reliable single. And then in the 5th race, I'm also 3 deep, using Federal Reserve to try to take him all the way, and recalibrating a little John W., try to track him down. It's a $27 play.
Yeah, very affordable, $27 play. You got to bet that Eloy Rod, I thought, had a big shot in there. You went the other way. We have our, but we'll talk about that race when we get to it. And as I mentioned, Bahama Kitten sitting on a winning effort today, followed a 25 maiden victory with a well-meant second-place finish at this level and distance. And Steve Town, Luca Panici going to hook up.
Well, here's the thing about this race. Ventina is the horse that is going to take a lot of money related to Bahama Kitten. They'll vie for favoritism, at least that's the way I looked at it. But the number 7, Princess Victoria, and the number 3, Lover's Key, both have pretty quick first gears. Ventina got it all her own way in the last occasion. That's the reason she won. She's now making a move to a different barn. Some things, chinks in the armor, so to speak. But the key question for me is, what will happen between the 3, Lover's Key, who went 45 to the half mile and had something in the tank last time, and the 7, Princess Victoria, who's stretching out and getting back on the grass? The pace is going to be key if something were to happen. That's why Bahama Kitten will be well situated. If something doesn't happen, I don't know.
Well, Princess Victoria's got to go. And you mentioned Ventina, who changed, went to the Antonio Sanabon. I want to show you a quick stat on Antonio. First, after the claim on the turf, right here at Gulfstream Park, 2 for 17, only 12%, 35% in the money, 89-cent return of investment. So a little bit of a cautionary stat. Thought I'd throw that out there. I think the race goes through. Bahama Kitten sits the trip behind all the speed that you were mentioning.
Well, Lover's Key made my ticket, and I think that her move is to try to get in front of Princess Victoria. Do the same thing that you did the last time. Open 8 or 9 and see what you have underneath you. But number 1, Bahama Kitten, has the best closing kick. She ran huge last time out behind a well-met winner in Tizakitten.
Well, let's go to 2, race 2, that is. 7 furlong starter, optional claimer. 3-year-old started for 25 or less, or the optional tag of 25. Scratch the inside horse, number 1, Track Shield, one of my picks in here. I know you went with the same. Oh, hey, what are you copying me today? The 4, Vencedor.
Well, I have a challenge for both of us in this race. Who's the speed in here? It can't be Hail to Victory on the outside, can it? I mean, he has 1 mile speed, not 7 furlong type sprint speed. Charlie the Greek in front, I don't know about that either, but nobody else has any kind of early speed. I'm figuring Vencedor can lay closer to the pace than he has been. This horse runs in spots. He should kind of grind away, actually somewhat typical Sano horse. He just grinds away at a 1 pace, and I think relative to the pace scenario, that's going to work for him. But I think Manolete will be a little bit better. Why would you lay him up and then bring him back at a higher level? He's got to be doing pretty good for Oscar Gonzalez. He won big last time out. He's going to have to put up or shut up, but I liked his last race.
Yeah, you had that head swirling performance, won it by 8.5 lengths. I used Flying to Honor in there. I thought this one is going to step up to face winners today. Returned from the layoff, dropped from maiden special to 16 and drew away to win by almost 4 lengths. So I think that's my logical 3 in there, and we're sort of in agreement with the top pick with the 4, Vencedor.
Well, number 3, Flying to Honor, has some good news and bad news information. I didn't like the race that he came out of, but I was proved a fool yesterday because the runner-up in that race, King Hood, won our final race yesterday when he took to the turf for the first time. The 3rd place finisher, Geopolitical, he came back to be odds on and got beat. So the jury's still out on the quality of Flying to Honor's last race, but he did run well.
And that horse went wire to wire in the last race, and it just you kept thinking somebody was, and actually the way you called the race was you kept thinking somebody was going to come and get him, and they just never did. So
that's right.
Race 3 this afternoon, 5 furlongs on the turf, starter, optional claim, a 3-year-old starter for 20 or less, or the optional claiming tag of $20,000. And as I mentioned, I got the 6 in here. Eloy Rod, you got the 2. Saratoga 2-step. We're going to go back and visit these 2 horses from the quarter pole to the wire last time out. And, you know, pick it up. You called. You could see the number 2 horse in there is Eloy Rod, and the number 5 horse that day is Saratoga 2-step.
Well, Eloy Rod has won 2 races, but he's had something in his favor in both of them, and that's what it is. He's had inside position. He had the rail when he broke his maiden. He had the 2-post last time out. But you'll see, Eloy Rod has a tendency to drift. Now, Paco's rode this horse. See how Paco's kind of getting after him? He's trying to drift out. He did the same thing, only worse, when he broke his maiden, and Paco was ready for that. No Paco today. Nothing against Misael Jaramillo, but when a horse is kind of a bad actor like that, I don't want to fix it if it's not broken. That's why I'm going to try to beat Eloy Rod. He gets an outside gate today where he had been drawn inside, and he gets a new rider. Those 2 things and a short price, that's enough of a cause for concern for me. I'll go with Saratoga 2-step and hope he can behave better himself.
Yeah, but he jumped over those track marks when he was in the stretch there. I split those 2 with the 5. You who have in third, and that's Stoneheart stepping up to face winners. He was game, 35 maiden victory. He was hemmed in along the rail that afternoon. He found the seam and he drew away. I thought it was very professional win. I mean, we got our horses boxed around in here, so I think we got the logical 3. I just, you singling the 2 in there, that's a pretty good step.
Well, this is the reason why. I mean, I don't like Eloy Rod, and I think there's a huge distinction between Eloy Rod, Saratoga's 2-step, and the rest. So if I'm going to try to beat the 6, I don't want to use any of the fringe players. I'll just single the 2 and take a shot.
Well, let's go to race 4 this afternoon. This one, a 1-mile claimer, 3 and up. Non-winners of 2, 12.5 is the level, and you went with the number 2 horse in here, Pete, and that's Nuclear Fusion.
Not a strong endorsement from me here. I don't like Sandbrook Edge, at least not to win, because he gets so far back. I mean, when you're dropping 20 lengths behind, I mean, he's every bit of 15. I'd have to challenge the chart writer there. They know more than me, but he is not even remotely in my binocular frames at any point in the first 5 furlongs of the race. He came running last time out, but he was well beaten by Ender's Cat, who was on the drop-in class that afternoon. He himself makes a barn switch here today, and I don't see a ton of dedicated speed in here. There are some suspect cast members in this race, but I can't take a short price on a horse on this racetrack that drops that far back.
Well, changing barns today to Elizabeth Dobles is doing a really good job, and Tyler Gaffley, what a day he had yesterday, so maybe they keep the horse closer to the pace. But I can understand you using the 2 Nuclear Fusion in here. I had it on my ticket further back. Horse I wanted to talk about a little bit is American Czar, dropping to this 12.5 level on the main track. He failed to fire when facing $25,000 optional claimers on the turf. Safi Joseph Jr., who took the training of this horse over a couple of starts back, not through the claim. Want to show you a stat on Safi Joseph Jr., turf to dirt at Gulfstream Park. He's 5 for 21, 24%, 52% in the money, but only that $1.35 ROI. And this barn has just been doing fantastic work all championship meet and carrying over till the spring-summer stanza.
Yeah, he was a bit closer when he broke his maiden than he had been when he was in the Dorochenko shed row. That's a good move. He was just flat-out outclassed last time. Give him a pass. He'd never been on the turf and not with any success, and he was in over his head. I could draw a line through that last race, which is why he makes my ticket. Trip-wise, I think he'll end up being a little bit closer than he was last time out. He'll be more in line with his trip when he won 2 back. That's good news if you like American Czar, because the thing about this, anybody you like in here except Sandbrook Edge, you'll be in front of him early, so take the tactical advantage when you can get it. The 4 will be last at the first call.
And always good to look at how the track is playing. Maybe it's setting up for horses that like to come, according to Pete, from Hallandale Beach Boulevard and run late. So we'll see how this race plays out. Anybody else before we take a break? Come back with my Rainbow Six ticket?
I think we got it covered.
Okay, let's go. We'll take a break, and then we'll be back.
At ExpressBet, we celebrate the champions that make horse racing great. That's why we provide more ways to bet from more places than ever. We've built an entire family of brands to give players more of the rewards they deserve, give bettors the information they need to win, and provide a community for horse bettors. Because the best way to support the champions of horse racing is to champion horse racing. ExpressBet. We are racing.
welcome back to Gulfstream today. It's Ron along with Pete Aiello this afternoon. And Pete, of course, it is afternoon. It's 12:07. Pete will be calling the races. That does a fantastic job. He'll also update you with the scratches and changes once we get done here. 5th race on the 10-race card. This is where the Rainbow Six starts. I'm going to show you my ticket this afternoon. And I do have a single, and it goes all the way back to race number 8. And I'm hoping Pete hates it. And that's the 6 Starship Jubilee in there. And so
I don't hate it. That's my single, too, I think. As you would say, she's a piece of candy.
She's a piece of candy in there, so we'll see how it plays out. $48.60, and having that single, you could see I was able to go 3 deep in every race. And the horse I started in race 5 was the 7 Recalibrating, back under the tutelage of trainer Oscar Gonzalez. Is cutting back to 7.5. Broke from post 11, rallied 5 wide to finish 3rd behind a repeat winner called Chivalrous, a next out winner called Bird Humor, and in front of a next out winner called Powerline. That was going a mile in the 16th last time out. You know, I'm a sucker for a key race, and that's where I went with this ticket.
That was a good key race, too. Bird Humor beat a good field at Tampa. Powerline was game in victory to win 2 in a row. So that's a good race. And I think we're going to talk about this momentarily. My top play in the race is the opposite of you, but I also use Recalibrating for that same reason. There's a lot of, in my view, there's a lot of suspect speed in this race. You have the one down inside in Federal Reserve who whistled going 5/8, beat a subpar field to do it. That was a weak $20,000 level. So the drop to 16 against winners is the right move. Good entry there by Rohan Crichton. This is the right spot if you want to try him going long. Now, Zarmo, who you used, the 6 Bodie Dog, who neither one of us used, but is 9-2 on the morning line, and even to some extent the 8 Little John W. They're need the leads-ish horses. I want to be in front of them and burn them out. Now, who's the closer in the race? The only one is the 7 Recalibrating. I just gave you why I have my top 3.
Yeah, there you go, and that's a good angle. And I just don't know if the 1 Federal Reserve stretching out this afternoon is going to be able to, stretch that speed to 7.5.
I don't either, but at 8-1 with an inside gate, I'll take a shot.
And ridden today by Miguel Vasquez. So that is how we see race number 5. Race 6 this afternoon, a mile on the turf, allowance optional claimers, state-bred fillies and mares. And we have no scratches in this race. And this is where Pete has his final pick 5 of the afternoon. And interested, I already know who his single is, so we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, it is absolutely the same single as you, Starship Jubilee, but I'm going to single twice and hope I'm right, because I think this race is, again, like the race earlier on the card where you have a couple of horses that are at least on form a little bit better than the rest of the competition. I'll try to beat Lady Devil and use Pat M's Image as the single, because then I can get coverage. The 7th race, wide open. I'll use 2, 4, 7, and 9. All 4 of them first-time starters. Starship Jubilee, nothing more needs to be said. The 9th race is the feature race of the afternoon, the Roar Stakes. I'm going to try to beat the favorite, and I'm going to go 6 deep in that race using 1, 3, 5, 7, 8, and 9. A couple of price horses, and the closers in the field will be in my ticket. And then in the 10th race, I do think I have that covered 4 deep, 1, 2, 5, and 7. It's just a $48 play. You can adjust if you think the 9th race isn't as wide open as I do. Feel free.
I love it from 7th race down to the 10th, and it's not that I dislike the just going with the Pat M's Image in there. I like Lady Devil in that spot along with that. We're going to go back actually and show you. First, we're going to show you the Pat M's Image and Lady Devil. We're going to show the head-on at the break, and then they're going to cut to the quarter pole to the wire. And the break, some trouble at the start.
Well, Lady Devil and Pat M's Image, well, I guess it was more the outside horse coming into Lady Devil than that particular race, but then Pat M's Image had to be sent wide. She's a bit keen there and sent wide to that first turn. You can't win, by the way, that's my editorial for today. It's so hard this time of year to win while you're giving ground on this turf course. You have to save ground and tip off cover. You can't, that's not going to work, what Pat M's Image did there, where you're 4 wide and then switched off cover past the 8th pole. It almost worked, but Whipsnade was too much horse. Had Pat M's Image tries to punch between, she probably gets there. In my view, Pat M's Image is still going to get the better of Lady Devil, simply because in the final furlong, she can outrun her. All other things being equal, I'll go with the 1 over the 4.
You know, I can understand the 1 over the 4, but I just couldn't single that type of horse. I did go with Lady Devil, hoping for clear sailing. You saw she had that double trouble. Not only did she get bumped at the start, she got caught in tight quarters through the lane. It wasn't as bad. You saw it. She finished 3rd behind Pat M's Image. The other one, now today, breaks from the rail. So, Pete, I went a couple deep in here. I'm not poo-pooing the fact that you just singled the horse in here, just the way I saw it. And you did not use the 2 Our Sweet Exchange, a reclaim by Ralph Zadie, who's stretching out to a mile today after rallying defeat 16 16 3-claimers going 5 furlongs. She's got to be in the first flight, right?
I think she leads here. Do I think she can get a mile? Absolutely no chance, my opinion.
Well, that's why I got her in third. I'm not quite sure about that, too. But, you know, one of the horses I had to throw in my ticket because this barn, you know, when they stretch them out, they do awful well.
Well, it should be noted, the 2 is the key to this race for Our Sweet Exchange because Lady Devil's natural tendency is to press or be in front. If the 2 doesn't go and they try to get cued and take her off the pace like they did a couple starts ago, and Lady Devil can get a flanking roll or even, you know, stalking a mild opening quarter, then all of a sudden I'm in trouble because you have the tactical advantage over me.
Well, let's go to race number 7. I've got one tactical advantage over him so far. 5.5 furlongs maiden claim is 3-year-olds, $16,000. You didn't pick my horse at all.
Yeah, and you have 2 tactical advantages on me. You know why?
Why?
Because all the horses that I picked in this race are first-time starters. The horse you used, the 5 Golden Cantharos, has not 1, not 2, but 3 races and takes a drop in class.
You know, and I went back and looked, and I saw a lot of people pick the number 7 horse in this particular race, the first-time starter from the Ralph Zadie barn, a quick cash, you know. And I just thought that I was trying to beat this horse. I looked at a couple of people's selections, and, you know, it's probably the logical thing to do. But I went with the experience angle, as you mentioned, dropping to the 16 level, turning back to 5.5, responded to the addition of blinkers, which I like, with a third-place finish, 35 maidens, actually, John Dowd, MSCL Jaramillo. So I just went with the, you know, the previous experience angle in there.
Hate the company lines and really didn't like his last race. I don't think the blinkers helped him a little bit. He should have definitely been second. Legacy Azteca had that race won at the quarter pole in that particular race, and Golden Cantharos by right should have been second in that race. So the drop-in class is needed. That's why this horse is dropping. But there's enough fresh faces in here. I mean, somebody has to be fast, whether it's the 7 Some Quick Cash, Francesco Fishing, Judas Nathan, or Selly's Image on the outside for Fox. Somebody has to have speed first time out. And if they do, I want them.
Yeah, and, well, you used them all.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. That's what I mean. I want them.
I was in agreement with the 2 Francesco Fishing, gelded son of J.P.'s Gusto, debuting for Larry Pilati. I like his workout pattern. They're used for works both here and on the farm. So a lot of guesswork we're doing here. Probably the logical horse is going to take all the money is the horse that you have right on top. And, of course, I'm trying to beat him, and we'll see how that works out. Now, I still have a chance to go back and add it to my ticket if I see the way the day is playing and his speed is really, really good this afternoon. Maybe you add a horse like Some Quick Cash.
Well, the 1, woo-hoo we go. If the first-timers make a mistake or if they're just not as fast as I hope they are, the 1 will be in front. But he has to have a little bit better stick. He's been speed and fade in his 2 races. He had to need that last race. There are some upside to the 1, woo, here we go, if you want a horse that's already raced. Outside of that, I would have to endorse a first-timer.
Well, he is dropping, woo, here we go, you know, to this level, removing the blinkers, so maybe he was a little keen with those blinkers. That was a 10-month layoff. He showed that speed, and as you mentioned, he backs up. Maybe those changes and the drop will be good for this horse. I had to use him on my ticket.
No argument, but for me, there's too many first-timers with upside. I'm going to use one of them and hope I'm right.
Well, the 8th race this afternoon, 1 mile on the turf, allowance optional claim of fillies and mares 4 and up, but they can run for that optional claiming price of $25,000. And we do have a couple of scratches in here, the 5 Harbor Jedi and the 7 Elizabeth Aurora. And we already told you how much we like the number 6 Starship Jubilee, who's going to try and make it 3 in a row at the distance and notch her 6th career victory on this course. She's had 9 races here with 5 wins in the second. She defeated 50 starter allowance. Tino Ortado claimed the 2 starts back. Nick Guara is going to be in the saddle today.
Speaking candidly, since she moved to the barn of Tino Attard, she hasn't had to work at all. She's blew the doors off of both of her fields 2 starts ago and then last time. She's just been much, much the best horse. There's no reason for me to think she'll regress. Rider switch to Juarez. Well, again, Lescano's not here, so you have to go with the guys that are taking the live mounts. Juarez is one of those guys. Fine with me.
Yeah, and I'm going to talk about the 2 in here. Triquita, who's dropping to the 25 level after a 2-race win streak over this course ending when she finished 3rd. That was a 9 furlong 35 optional claimer here on February 23rd. We're going to go back and take a look at Triquita on February 23rd. She was the number 3, and we're going to show her from the quarter pole home that day.
Well, if this is the race I think it is, yes, it is. The eventual winner is the gray hidden turn, who's in the two-path and challenged Trakita. But this was a heck of a stretch run. It was a three-way go in that particular afternoon. Quant actually trying to rally from the back in that race as well. These three will set the stage for a big-time stretch battle. Hidden turn from between them is going to get the money, but Trakita makes her earn it every step of the way. It was a game performance. Hasn't been seen since that race. Cuts back. The cutback's not a concern because she's a forwardly placed runner. For me, the freshening is, and I also think that Starship Jubilee is just too good right now.
And we got a cautionary stat on Trakita, well, actually on Todd Plesher over the last 5 years, layoff of 31 to 60 days, optional claiming level on the turf. Only at Gulfstream Park, 5 for 44. He's only 11%, 48% in the money with a 73-cent ROI. He just doesn't do this a lot. That's more than what it is. It's not really a stat. You know, he's only 44. He starts 40,000 horses, you know what I mean? But it's just a cautionary stat to show you. Doesn't do much that in the optional claiming ranks on the turf.
But that's a microcosm of the actual, the actual situation. And this is not his strong suit.
Right.
And he has a buzzsaw on his outside. So for me, no Trakita, at least not on top or even in the top three. And because Trakita will take a lot of money outside of Starship Jubilee, I'm going to use the 3 and 4 underneath and try to beat the favorite AB type scenario.
Well, the ninth and feature race this afternoon is the 7 furlongs. This is our trios who have never won a sweepstakes. It's called the Ross, $75,000. There's 9 in the field. I know your top pick is on the outside. It's general obvious, but you used about 27 horses in here on your ticket. And I can understand why. I didn't think it was as wide open as the favorite. I mean, as easy as the favorite's going to win it.
I don't like the favorite in here. I'm 6 deep, and I think I used him, but it was just because I didn't want to get beat by him. But Classic Rock's got to prove it. I mean, last time out went 3/4 and 9 and change after setting a 44 and 4 half mile and forgot to stop and won easily. Beasley, the runner-up, would come back and give Battalion Runner all he wanted. Of course, Battalion Runner ran so well in the Wooded Aqueduct for trainer Todd Pletcher. Classic Rock's been freshened up since that race. That's strike 1. There's a lot of speed. That's strike 2. Rider switch, at least for me, don't fix it if it's not broken. That's strike 3. And the fact that it's the favorite. Now we're up to 4 strikes. Need I say more?
Well, let's go back and show you that performance before we talk about the number 9 General Obvious in here. And this is Classic Rock back on January 6th. The last time this horse was seen, and we pick it up from the quarter pole to the wire, and there he is, just cruising on the front end.
Well, Beasley, like I said, Beasley's going to try to take up the slack in that race, but Classic Rock ran super. He really did. I would have liked to have seen him since then. And not come back in a race where there's a ton of other speed. I mean, what do you make of this Ricky Griffith horse running on the outside of him, Cadillacs? Cadillacs is a horse that went to the pace last time and went, I don't think I've ever seen this, 20 and 4 on Polytrack? Get serious.
This horse is absolutely, in my analysis, wrote the speed of the speed this afternoon. He is got to go. We're talking about the 6 Cadillacs in that race, and it might, certainly hurt the number 5 Classic Rock in here, and I can understand General Obvious you think is going to sit the trip behind this speed.
I do. He's drawn very, very well to do just that. He'll have options from out there. Stanley Gold has had him and working pretty well for his return. He's actually been working excellent. He hasn't been seen since October. His last race against a horse, oh, by the way, he was the favorite for the Kentucky Derby till about 3 weeks ago in McCracken. Now, he was in the gate with him. That was about where it ended. But his last race at Gulfstream Park was a win, and I think that he'll be ready to fire off the layoff.
I like a horse in here that you used in second, Pete. Now, I think this is the horse that sits the trip in my estimation, and that's Alum. He's back in South Florida after encountering trouble. He bumped at the start. He checked at the 8th pole at this level and distance. Was up at Tampa. He comes back. I think he sits the catbird seat behind the speed of all the horses we were mentioning, and it is Todd Pletcher. I understand General Obvious. I just think that this horse carves out that perfect trip this afternoon, ridden today by Eddie Castro, who has joined the fold here, I guess, in South Florida.
Yeah, if you heard my call yesterday, I actually didn't notice that. I looked down and to see who was riding the leader, and I was, oh, Eddie Castro's back. Didn't even know that. But here's the thing about Alum. Alum shipped to Tampa for his last 2 races. Those races were on the big days, respectively. Sam Davis Day, 2 starts ago, where he was odds on and ended up That was second. And then last time out was Tampa Bay Derby Day. He finished third under Jose Ortiz. In both of those cases, the main track in Oldsmar was a conveyor belt. If you were on the lead, you won. He wasn't anywhere near the lead in either of those races, so I can give him a pass and figure maybe he'll get a more favoring racetrack today.
Well, that makes me like him even more this afternoon, because I thought, I kept looking who's going to be the closer behind all the speed, especially with a horse like Cadillac, who we've been talking in there. Maybe it sets up for a long Classic Rock. I did put it on top. I was very impressed with its horse's performance. Look at that recent work. 58, looks like they drilled some speed into him.
They did. They'll be interested to see if they try to rate him. He rated 2 starts ago. I don't think he has to go 3/4 and 9 and change.
Let's go to the final race on the Friday card. 1 mile on the turf. Claim is 4 and up. Non-winners of 3 in life. Or a race since October 21st. 30 down to 25. Did have a couple of scratches in here of the 6, 8, and 10. And as I mentioned, Pete will be updating you on all that stuff in just a couple minutes. I don't have to look anywhere. I don't even have to be in this building, and I know that Pete picked Charlie Mops, so it's that simple. So tell me about Charlie Mops.
I knew that was coming, and you're 100% right. If Charlie Mops is on the overnight, I'm going to be interested in him.
No doubt in my mind.
But here's the thing. What you're saying is the fact that I bet with my heart. But in this particular case, my head gets involved as well, because he fires well fresh off the layoff. He does his best work near the lead. He likes this race course. He's won 5 races on it. And, oh, by the way, find me somebody to go with him. He's going to be in front and calling his own shots up there. Manny Aguilar, the regular rider, I like him here, both from a mental standpoint and from a emotional standpoint.
I just saw more speed in here. And when I went back and, I just thought with a couple, while he scratched that, actually a couple of the horses I thought might be near the lead, the number 6, Adios Nardo. So you think he's the lone speed in the nightcap?
I do. And he fires fresh. Look at this. From March to July, win. From September to June, that's an extended vacation. Took him all the way and beat a nice field in Blue Harbor doing it. Last time out, he finished 3rd in a stake. I mean, what is not to like?
Sounds a little like betting from the heart, too. I mean, I went with the one, Hamistera. 6 for 7 in the money on this turf course. 7 starts, 2 wins, 2 seconds, 2/3. Moved to the run for Show Barn. After that, Clay makes his local return. He had some trouble behind a really nice horse that we got to look at a couple of videos. The horse is called Go Go Rocket. That was a 25 condition claimer going a mile at the fairgrounds. I just thought that maybe this horse carves out a trip behind the speed, but apparently he'll never get that chance.
Well, I'll give you the skinny on Hammer's Terror. He's won on this course before. In fact, he's won twice. He probably needed that last race. If you're not familiar with Ron Fachot, he's one of the guys that's joined us from the New Orleans and Louisiana circuit. The guy is good, and he's money off the claim. So there are some things to like about Hammer's Terror. That's why he's second on my ticket behind Charlie Mops. You have to catch me to beat me in the finale.
Well, there you go. So Charlie Mops, a horse I have some interest in. I'm glad to see you had on the ticket. Was actually my long shot play today. Actually liked it more when the other horses weren't scratched of the 6 and 8 and 10, because I thought I'd get a better price, and that's the 7 Abtal, a 6-time turf winner going back to the grass. He rallied to finish second. It was 25 claimers, was at the fairgrounds, but this horse loves the turf. That race was moved to a sealed sloppy track. Talking about guys that have joined us from the fairgrounds, Keith Bourgeois, C.J. McMahon, surface switch this afternoon. I just thought, more than anything, that he'd be a bit of a price in here.
And it's been a long time ago, but he's won on this course too, so you don't have that variable to worry about.
Well, that is how we see it. So it's all about Charlie Mops in the last race. But lots of fun working with Pete once again. I hope we get to do it again.
Well, I know there's at least 4 people watching this telecast that are excited that I'm in the seat. I think the other 96% are wishing that Acacia would come back. And the good news is she'll be back in about 15 minutes.
Well, how is your sister? I know she's watching. I don't know who the other 3 are. We'll be back.
We have to take care of these horses that, give us so much joy.
Being accredited